I still like that intro, Lyle. We're going to have to make another one up here soon with some more pictures. So people, get out there and fish and take some pictures of your panfish. In the meantime, welcome to Panfish Nation. My name is Mark, co-host of the great Lyle Stokes, who's up for the Icon Award, Fishing Legend Award for the Golden Whiskers. Make sure you do what you can to let's guarantee he gets it because he deserves it, bud. I know he's awfully he's shy about that kind of stuff. Not really, but no, he is shy about that stuff.
I appreciate
want to make sure that he gets his just desserts. I also want to hold on. See, I miss a show, and I want to apologize for that. I was feeling a little bit under the weather. Lyle knows what's going on. But thanks for sticking in here, Lyle, and having a great show. And I really miss talking to Jeremy. He's a great guest. I've been friends with him for a long time. He sent me some pretty good. He sent me jigs in the past. We've talked
like
quite
these?
a bit. And yeah, something like that. Yeah, look at that. Oh, those are the ones you're making.
Yeah, they actually hang this way.
Let me give you a solo screen so you can show them off. He's been proud of these all day.
I've had limited success with them, but right now
we'll talk about your fishing successes.
Yeah, everything's a little tough right now, but you know we're catching a few fish.
I don't know what Josh means by that. He says, remember to vote for Lyle, folks, and tell others to vote too. Lyle Stokes should win a prize, an LS swap. He wants you to put a Chevy motor in your truck, I think.
No,
I didn't think you'd be doing that.
No.
Lyle's a Ford fan. I'm a Cummins man, Ram man. And Josh, I believe, is a Chevy guy. I'm sorry, Josh.
Toyota.
Toyota.
He's got Toyotas, Dodge, Chevys. He's got everything.
Let's talk about. We talk about everything on the show. Let's have a little talk here. I was thinking about maybe my next truck maybe being a Toyota, but I priced them out, and I don't know, man. They ain't cheap. They had some problems the last couple of years with motor recalls and that. I don't know.
Well, I was in the automotive business my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that keeps garages in business is General Motors products. You can keep track of it as long as you want, anytime you want. That's the number one thing. Number two is Toyota. The other thing is recalls. Recalls, Toyota is number one and General Motors number two. You can go from there. Now, Chrysler doesn't have near as many recalls as a lot of the others. They have their share, especially a few years ago with the rear axles on them Dodge, but not compared to GM and Toyota. Now, Ford, on the other hand, their quality is job one. They have them. I'm not saying that at all, but the amount of repairs and the amount of other stuff, they're like 10th or 11th down the list compared to the others, and we used to keep track of that.
Well, I know with the Mopars that in the it's always gremlins, electrical gremlins. It was for a long time. They got most of that stuff worked out. Also transmissions and tie and ball joints were a problem with them, but the transmissions. In my I had an 04 Cummins, and I had that thing juiced up to like 1,000 horsepower. We had a dyno. That thing was a beast, and it handled that horsepower towing. I don't know, for like 4 years before I had to have a rebuild. But that was just me. My new truck, I don't have any transmission problems, to be honest with you. And the new ones, they're changing to a new transmission, so stay tuned for that. We'll see what happens. I think it's the same people that make the Chevy Trans, which is pretty much bulletproof. I forget who makes that, but anyways, look at this. 205 says 1,000 horse. Yeah, that was back in my day. I haven't touched my truck. I dumped so much money into that old truck. It was ridiculous. I got a great trade-in. I sold that truck with 265,000 miles on it, plowing miles, no less. And I still got 24 grand for that bad boy. So I was pretty happy with that.
Curtis,
anyways,
Curtis says, why do we find so many Fords in the salvage yard? If you'll go through any salvage yard in the United States and tell me what the most found thing is in there, it will be Chevrolets. And there's a reason for that, because they are shit from the factory and they're never going to be any better.
I'm getting messages from Josh that I can't read.
Really? I'm shocked.
Everybody's got their, my point is everybody has their favorite brand, whether it's trucks, boats, outboard motors, whatever, you know,
you talking about that, Mark. I hear stuff from everybody about, I'll never own a Mercury outboard motor. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I've had several of them. The most I've ever had to do to any of them was a water. Period. They just run forever. And the guys that are blowing them up and stuff, they're doing that on purpose. So you're not going to convince me of anything any different. You can't run them wide open every time you get into them all day until you run out of gas and expect not to have a problem. It's just, I don't care what kind of motor it is, but Mercury's have been very, very good to me. Yamaha's was good to me. I had a Yamaha SHO that I dearly loved, and I had a Evinrude E-Tech. That was probably the most powerful motor I ever had in a boat, run over 70 miles an hour. It was a 300 E-Tech, and it would scream. Never had a minute's trouble out of the motor. Never. It just didn't, So they all make good ones. They all make bad ones. It's what you personally like. But if you ever work in a garage, like I did forever, GM keeps you in business, period.
My wife works for a huge dealer group here.
Right.
205. She works for a huge dealer group that's got 40 dealerships, all brands.
Yeah.
And one of the things they talk about in their meetings for the service writers and stuff when she has to go to those meetings is what brands have how many people come in for what kind of problems. So I got a pretty good insight as to what the recent model problem brands are, but I'm not going to talk about all that stuff here, but
right.
I got a good idea. So I got reasons for what I do. And back to like the outboard motor stuff, it's, you get a brand like Mercury that gets a lot of grief from people and stuff, but Mercury outsells probably, at least up until recently. I don't know if I don't know.
Like that.
Yeah, it was like that for a long time. And when you have one problem and you're selling, 10 times the motors that anybody else is, and people start complaining about it, it's just per capita. You got to look at anything. Anyways, let's see what we got. We got stuff going on here in chat here. Let's see. I have an 85 Tercel and an 89 F250. My wife has a 223 Toyota stuck in the past. Hey, keep them running. I drive a 2014. I got a good 10 years in it before I trade it in.
Oh, yeah. That here's the thing. I know we're going to talk about fishing in just a minute. When I was working in garages, when they come out with electronic ignitions, all the old guys in the shop, they wouldn't touch the electronic ignition and fuel injection, computers. They wouldn't do none of that. They wouldn't work on no diesel. They didn't want to learn anything new. Well, I was a young guy, and that's how I made my money. So it didn't matter to me what you had. If it come in that shop, it got fixed. As time went on, they come out with all these computers and the real extensive fuel injection and all this new stuff. And I find myself wanting to be like them guys and not want to learn the new stuff. But again, if you want to make money, mechanics for the most part do not get paid by the hour like a lot of people do. They get paid by what they call flat rate, which is piecework.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something that comes back you didn't finish correctly, well, you get to do it for free the next time.
Yep.
So you want to make sure it's done correctly and as fast as you can. And there's a book that's called a flat rate book, and it says this job should take 4 hours to do. Well, if you do it in 6 hours, you still get paid for 4. If you do it in an hour and a half, you still get paid for 4. So that's how you make money working in a garage.
That's why the good mechanics have 3 lifts to themselves.
I used to have 2, but that was all that we was allowed.
Nice to see that too. Buggy says, we have a 40-year-old Mariner that has never been rebuilt, still running on the pontoon of my uncle's. There you go.
There you go.
And just one last thing, people are brand, they're brand loyal, and that makes all the sense in the world to me. I've been driving Dodges or Chrysler products since I got out of high school. I started working in a dealership, and I got a good deal on my first I had an 81 Ram Charger, ugliest truck in the world, but I love that thing. Oh my God, that I love that thing. But being brand specific or being brand loyal, you know what to expect. If something happens, you know how to fix it. If this is going on, you got a good idea where to look. So that's why I feel a lot of people, stay brand specific. Plus, there's all the crap you get to talk with your buddies and stuff. So my old truck, let me tell you why I had my old truck all juiced up to 1,000 horsepower, Lyle, because I had a friend that I used to plow with, and he had a Chevy, and he used to think his Chevy was the bee's knees. And I beat him one day. We were out there messing around, of course, on a closed course. I blew his doors off. He spent 20 grand on that truck, and he still couldn't beat me. It was fan-freaking-tastic. But anyways.
I understand completely. One more thing about that.
Sure.
When I was working in a garage in the town we lived in, we hadn't been married very long. And my buddy Bill Shaw come down. He worked at the General Motors dealership. It was a Chevy dealer in Vandalia, which is 18 miles. He said, I need you to come up here and go to work at this dealership. I said, I don't know about them Chevrolets. I don't want them. He said, you work on them every day. He said, they're just newer. They train you, give you the best equipment, anything that's specialty stuff they buy and all this. And he convinced me that I need to work at a dealership. So lo and behold, I go up there and interview for the job with the guy that actually owned the company. And he said, you're driving Fords? And he said, I understand you're quite a Ford fanatic. I said, yes, I am. And he said, why is it you want to work for General Motors? I said, well, one thing is for sure, as long as they make them, I'll have plenty of shit to do. And he hired me right on the spot. And I worked for him until, it went out of business, basically. And the place started as a bicycle shop. His grandfather fixed bicycles in it. And his dad opened up a car dealership there in the 1920s or 30s. And Ted ended up with it later on. He was a great guy to work for. Every Friday afternoon, he'd come down, set a 12-pack of beer between me and old Bill, and he'd go to the country club, and we'd sit there and drink beer.
There you go. Aaron says, I kicked myself in the ass for selling my 89 Monte Carlo. Real quick note on that one, Aaron. My buddy's got I don't know what year it is, but he's got the Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo, and he can't get rid of that. He's a big Chevy guy. He's got that thing. He gave it to his son. His son drove it for a bunch of years. His son moved up to Madison, wanted a more fuel economical car so he can make rides to visit his girlfriend back here. And he still has that car parked in his garage right next to his, what were those weird Chevy, I know Dodge made them too in the par wagons, the beds on the back of those, the step side bed. And he's got a step side bed, old Chevy truck too. He hasn't done anything to him, but he just can't bear to get rid of them. So
yeah, I know where there is a Dodge little red wagon sitting in the guy's showroom floor of a used car lot that he bought brand new when he worked as a salesman for. It's got about 6,000-7,000 miles on it.
Nice.
Red, real nice truck.
Look at this. Chris, he says, I had a 72 Monte Carlo set up for drag racing, and I got in trouble with that car and sold it to my brother for cheap. My dad took me shopping, God rest his soul, for my first car. And I found a car. It was like a 1972 Dodge Dart, a lime green one with a 440 and a 4-speed in that, Lyle. We pulled into the guy's driveway. My dad said, turn around. He wouldn't even get out of the car. He's like, no, you don't need something that fast at 16 years of age. I'm like, Dad.
I've been there and done that.
All right, we got car talk. Let's talk weather like we always start. Look at this, Lyle. It's cooled off over here. We're down to 81 degrees finally.
Oh, really? Well,
yep.
Hey, we're at 82, so we're real close, man.
We got more car.
The heat this year has been, It's not any hotter than ever, but it's I don't know what it is. It's just miserably.
Well, we've been getting a lot of rain. We've been getting a lot of rain all summer, so that adds to the bugs and it adds to the humidity.
Oh my God! Did you see the post Katie Collins made today about these little sweat bee looking things?
No, I did not.
They're everywhere. My God, I never seen so many of them. They're all over you, and they're really not sweat bees. They can't sting you. They don't bite you. What they do when they land on you, I read the article, is they're trying to get the moisture off your skin and the salt off your skin. She is some little name for it. I don't remember what the name of it was. Katie Collins posted it up. Oh, yeah. And I thought they was just sweat bees, and sweat bees will sting you, but these are not. And at the end of the article, it says, enjoy them. They'll be gone in a month or so. And I thought, there ain't nothing enjoyable about them little bastards flying around your face all day.
Man, this weather and all this rain, everything's been growing so bad. You know, I could probably cut my lawn twice a week. I must have went through 2 gallons of Roundup, killing all the weeds out of my beds and stuff. You just can't stop it. A lot of grass growing through 2 inches of freaking mulch. I don't know how the heck that happens, but it does. So
do you put the plastic down first?
Nah, we didn't put that plastic down.
That'll help, but it won't stop them.
Yeah, I ain't digging all that up to put plastic on. No,
oh, come on.
No. Mark Barnum says, missed my 1957 International 1-ton 4x4. That was a great truck. Would vapor lock back in the summer, and you'd pull over and
right up
and drink a beer and started right back up.
Yep. I had an International, couple different ones. Good trucks. They run forever. The bodies just fall off of them. There's the only thing wrong with them.
Buggy's cutting the lawn. He says he almost hit a bunny. I've done that many a times.
Yeah.
Many times. Ernie says I had a 75 Firebird and a 79 Trans Am, 79 Ventura, and with a 400 in it. My buddy we can't get off of it. I got so many stories as probably you do, Lyle. My buddy had a 72 Nova, 73 Nova with a 454 in there, and the thing had nothing. The seats had springs, so he just threw Mexican blankets over the springs, and we were doing probably way too fast. I think it was like 85 miles an hour over some train tracks, and that hood latch gave loose before we hit the ground. Oh my goodness, that hood wrapped right around the windshield. I'm surprised the windshield didn't shatter.
I had a 67 Cougar when I first got married. And I told Cindy, I said, no matter what happens, I'm never getting rid of this car. People they pull them up on trailers from St. Louis and Mexico and Hannibal all over to race that old car. It'd pull the front wheels off the ground knee high in third gear. I mean, it was bad. I was the first one in my area to have a roller cam. Nobody knew what it was or how to set it or anything else, and I had to have it. And, it was really, really fast. And quarter mile stuff. And I used to ride around with a set of slicks in the back of it, one in the back seat and one in the trunk, and a complete third member. And I'd pull over the side of the road, jack it up, and take out the 355 gears in the back of it and put them 488s and 613s, depends on how fast we was going. And put them, the slicks was 12.5 inches wide, 31 inches tall, and you'd run her up to 6,500 up the clutch and shift her an 8,000. And I didn't have no trouble outrunning anybody in those days.
Well, good luck, Aaron. He looks like he's going out to fish, so that's awesome. What do you say? Oh, wait, we got one more. Greg Berry just said, I had a 68 GTO I love, and that car had what? Oh, you had to sell it. Starting to make kids. Yeah, kids will do that.
Yeah, they will. I miss those days, but not enough to do it again. I've had some fast cars over the years.
Yeah, just, that truck I had, I dumped a ton of money on it, and I had a lot of fun, but I'm kind of past it. The only good thing about a diesel, when you juice that sucker up, when you beef it up, you get a hell of a lot better gas mileage. It's the total opposite of a gas car, I was getting 25 miles to the gallon in that 3/4 ton truck. It was ridiculous. So, all right, let's say hello to everybody
right here.
After I was married.
That's a fact.
Let me say hello to everybody while we got them in here. Benoit Fishing Outdoors. Hello, ladies. How you doing? There's Bugman out there cutting the lawn, listening to us. Butterflies and Sunshine. You can remember, folks, tonight, Ed and Butterfly and probably Rhonda will be on Ed's channel. fishing tonight from Flathead. There's a great Miss Cindy Stokes. How you doing, Cindy? Downtown Ernie Brown was live earlier today. There's our buddy Greg Burgess. Lance McCougai, how you doing, Lance? P&B Catfishing. What's going on, Paul? How you doing? Aaron, if you're still in here, what's up, my friend? There's Uptown Chrissy Brown. Mark Barnum was in here earlier. We saw Mark. How you doing, Mark? Let's see who else. Somebody just popped in here. Grappy Day Darren. He was one of the first ones in here. What's going on, Darren? How you doing, buddy?
Mike Sampson was numero uno tonight.
He's in there all the time. He always stops and drops a thumbs up. I put a poll up in the chat saying, do you love summer pan fishing? If yes, hit the thumbs up. No, it's too hot. Hit the thumbs up anyways. We had 89% so far say they love it, and only 12% say that they don't. I'm kind of torn. If there was a 50-50, I'd be in there because sometimes it's just too hot. So.
Well, get out early. It doesn't do much good to stay out late. As long as the sun's up, it's kind of hot. But when the sun starts going down now, it's better. Here a couple of weeks ago, it didn't matter if the sun was down or not. 10 o'clock at night, it was still 90 degrees. Right now, first thing in the morning, you're looking at low 60s, high 60s, low 70s. Pretty comfortable out there till about 10 or 12 in the morning, and then it starts warming up. And but Mark, been catching a lot of crappie lately, and the crappie. This is exactly opposite. You're going to tell me I'm wrong. Can't get them to go when it's cloudy or when it's cool, but you let that sun pop out for 5 minutes, and you just won right after.
Yeah, you know, Lyle, I understand what you're saying, and I don't necessarily think it's always one way or the other. I think changes in weather, if they're feeding and the weather changes, whether clouds roll in or the clouds roll out, wind changes direction, I think any change has an effect on whether or not they're going to feed or not. I really believe it.
I was crappie fishing and kept catching these channel cats. And there was an old man that was down there at this dock, and he was fishing, and he was fishing specifically for channel cat, and he caught 5 or 6 small ones. You know, they wasn't great big. And I thought, well, I'll throw a rod out, and I have some light action rods that I broke the tip off of, and I just put a tip on it, and I thought, well, that'd be perfect for the little channel cat. The first one took off with my line, dragged screaming, couldn't stop it, and it was either a channel cat or blue, and took me over on the rocks and broke me off. I thought, well, this is pretty cool. And I got a bluegill and cut it up and lose a little chunk of that and throw it out there again. And the next one, I never got up off the bottom, and you could have drawn a line from where I hooked it to this brush pile in front of this dock, and that's where he took me and broke me off. And in this lake, there has been 40-plus pound flathead caught out there. Now, how big this was, I have no idea. Never did get to see it. But it was big enough that the rod was bent plumb back to the handle. And
there you go.
So if you don't have the right equipment, you can't catch those kind of fish.
At least you walked away with a story. That's all you can be grateful for.
It was fun while it lasted.
I had, I was out, not this last time. I've been streaming from my pond location last couple of weeks, just because I needed to get out. And I'm testing some new setups for streaming. And I hooked up into what I think it had to been like a 10-pound channel cat on, I'm using 4-pound test out there. And that was fun to have. But, this time of year, the weeds go anywhere from between 10 to 20 feet out from the bank. As soon as I got him near those weeds, I wasn't getting them past that weeds. Broke that line clear off and broke my heart. But still, it was fun to mess with them for a good, 3 or 4 minutes. It wasn't too bad. So
I tell you, Mark, I have had fairly good success with a double hook rig drop shot. I put the top hook about 12 to 15 inches above the bottom one and put the bottom one about 6 inches from the sinker and cast it out there and just slowly bump it back. And I've had pretty good success with that. But right now, I catch one on the top hook once in a while. The majority of them's coming off the bottom. There's Freddie. How Hi,
It's
Freddie.
just pretty. Mark Barnum says, "Why do they make you get a license for your dog? They can't drive." I agree.
That's funny right there.
There's our buddy Creole Catfishing. What's going on, Jeremy? You guys looking for a guy down in Louisiana? You give him a call over at Creole Catfishing, I believe, guide service. Correct me to the name. Hey, there's Freddie. Freddie has been awfully busy, I imagine. I haven't seen him in a while. Good to see you, Freddie.
Kid has joined us.
Let's see. Hey, we got J&S Outdoors. How you doing? Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Freddie has a question here. What is the perfect length panfish rod? They don't make
7 feet. 7 feet. I don't care what you say.
6'6", 7 feet is two of my favorites. I have a bunch of 7'6" ones. Depends on what the make is and what they're made out of whether I like the 7'6" or not, because the tip on them gets really, really flimsy. We'll talk about that here in a minute, because I got something else to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, I know. We talked about this.
Everything from 5 foot to 7.5 foot for, in my book, for perfect rods. And to be quite honest about it, I now prefer 2-piece rods, because they're a lot easier to store, especially if you don't have much room in your vehicle.
All right, here's my experience with different types of panfish rods, Lyle. Let me go over this real quick, because Freddie brings up a good question. There's so many different techniques for panfishing, you'd be surprised. Yeah. I was an avid ACC Crappie Stick user for a long time. Great rod, nice, and they're stiff. They're 7 foot. The one I get is the one I always order for them was the 7'6", right? And it worked good, because in my neck of the woods where I fish, especially off the bank, I need to get baits out there. Because when I'm fishing in the heat of day, them fish are in the deep, because there's no shade. All right. So I either like them because I can cast a long distance. That being said, I've tried numerous times to long line for crappie with those rods, and they're just too stiff, Lyle.
Right.
You're paper mouths on those crappies. You're ripping those jigs out at a mile an hour. Yep. They're going to come right out of their mouth. So I changed to using 10-foot B&Ms. I got some graphite 10-foot B&Ms from Walmart, of all places, that cost me a whole $20. I got them on clearance, I guess it was. And those were good as my outside rods. I don't like rods that are that long. They're just cumbersome, right?
But they'll cast for.
Well, it depends too. In the shallow waters that I fish, Lyle, I use those big weighted cigar styrofoam floats.
Well, you can throw them a lot.
Well, you can, but the problem is I use them like planer boards. So what I do is, when I'm fishing in 4 to 6 feet of water, I put those jigs about 7 feet down from that cigar float, and that cigar float will keep that jig right above weeds. It works great for me, but we're getting into specifics here. They're good. They're not that easy to cast, but they work well. Lately, I've been using those Whisker Seeker catfishing carp rods. They're 7 foot. I think the tip is fast enough to pull them behind the boat, and they're great for casting at the same thing. For some reason, these rods are turning out to be probably the perfect all-around rod for me. That's for me. I've really enjoyed them a lot. I've been long line trolling with Betty and Brandon, with Betty even more than with Betty and Brandon. And she likes rods with softer tips on them when she's long line trolling, and they work well for her. I have big hopes that these will do the same thing. So we'll see. But Freddie, I think a 7-foot rod's good. Some people like shorter rods. If you're fishing off a dock, you don't need a real long rod.
5.5 6-foot rod's perfect for dock fishing.
Yep, especially if you got a roof overhead like Lyle and Dockery have.
You won't see me hitting the dock roof.
That's because nobody videotapes while you're out there. I'm sure it happens.
Well, a lot of places I don't have no signal, so I can't go live, and that helps.
So, Freddie, that's my big, long, overcomplicated answer for that. I think a 7-foot rod for me, I really like them around that length. I'm starting to learn.
I do have a tip for Freddie.
What's up, Crappie?
Do not make them where they end up like this.
Oh, here we go. Let me give you the solo layout here.
Mark, I bought 2 of these rods last year. The first one broke the first day I had.
Yikes.
This one lasted about, I don't know, 10 months. There's never been anything bigger on it than a 1.25 pound bass. I wouldn't buy another one of them for the whole frigging company. You can't depend on anything like that. The guy, as you can plainly see, they're inserted guides, which is okay if you got good inserted guides like Fuji's or something like that. But these popped out immediately.
Let me remind everybody while you're mid rant here that Lyle is a custom rod builder and he's been doing it since the 80s, so he knows what he's talking
83. But yeah, and the reason why I have brand X rods that from people, especially production companies, is because I'm constantly looking for a blank that has the action that I like. When you build rods and you decide you want a certain kind of rod, you might go through 100 from a company before you find one that's even reasonably close. Then you cut the tip off, the back off, do all kinds of things to get it where you want it. Well, if I can find a production rod that's already like what I wanted, you can just call the guys up and say, hey, I need them built like this, except better quality. And you can get it done that way. And these guys say, oh, they won't do that. Bull butter. I've known them guys for years. I've dealt with all of them. I've dealt with them people over in China longer than anybody in the industry today. I was doing it when they was still crap and yellow. So don't tell me I don't know them guys, because we're on a first name basis, have been for years. And I know what all these companies pay for their rods too. So there's that.
You know, Lyle, back to like what I like. You know, I had a panfish rod. All right, I got a B&M panfish rod, ultralight, from one of the Duck Dynasty guys back in my Twitter days when I had a huge following on Twitter. He sent me John Goodwin. That's who sent it to me. Great rod. Broke the tip on it. It broke my heart. You know, they didn't sell them here anywhere locally, but the places around here, since I live up in the north, are big St. Croix. We're a big. This is St. Croix land up here.
Well, of course it is. Well,
Great rods, but they're not cheap. So
right.
I bought a St. Croix Panfish, and I love that rod just as much, if not more, than that B&M ultralight. But I dropped a rod locker door on it, and I broke the tip clean off. Now I understand that they'll replace it for X amount of dollars, which, you know what, I still have it in the garage. I might have to go through and get that done. But that rod was great. But if you're going to spend the $150 on a rod, it ought to be, especially an ultralight. I also have a trout rod from St. Croix that I bought just for casting those Castmasters, and that's a great rod. I don't get to use that rod as much anymore, but it's not an all-around rod. It's got a specific use. It's a super fast tip for fighting those, you know, how a trout will flail and swim all over like crazy. That's what it's built for. It's built for throwing small spinners and small spinners, spoons, and Castmasters. So yeah, that's a good rod. But so far, for an all-around rod, there's, you know, I like my Whisker Seekers. And does Ugly Stick, do they make an ultralight? I think they might.
Yes, several actually. And
I think they would.
While we're talking about that, Ugly Stick makes one of the most dependable rods on the market. Let's face it, they've been in business forever. It's not that you can't break them or any rod if you really are not paying attention or trying to, but they're very reliable. They've been around a long time. The fit and finish on them is not that great, but when you're doing production rods, a lot of times they're not. They are a far cry better than this crapola I got here.
Yep.
The thing about them is I have a Ugly Stick 5.5 foot. I have a 7 foot. I have a 7.6 that I bought the Elite model because it was supposedly graphite, which I really like graphite. When I get it in, the tip on it is fiberglass and it's a graphite composite. the rod blank itself is exceptional. The problem is that whippy tip, and I'm not talking about a soft tip, Mark. I'm talking about
Just whip, yeah.
it's too much, too light for me. Now, if I'm casting jigs a long distance, you can take a 1/32 ounce jig hit and throw that thing forever. It works really good for that, but you lose so much feel with that fiberglass tip, or a graphite, you'll have it. If Ugly Stick would have went ahead and made that a graphite rod completely up to the tip, they would have really had something, because the backbone and the bottom part, the bottom 2/3 of that rod blank is really high quality. It's the tip that's the issue.
You know, all right, Ugly Stick rods, they're tough as nails, no doubt, but
Yep.
there's a balance there. You lose sensitivity in those rods.
Yep.
It definitely doesn't telegraph bottom as well, or fish bites. And now my opinion on really soft tipped rods, they're great if you're fishing off the side of a boat or a dock and you're fishing for a species like perch. They'll spit a hook pretty quick as soon as they figure out that there's a little bit of pressure on them. If you have a soft tip, you can see that load up and you're more apt to hook those fish. So like I said, it's 6 of one, half dozen another. A lot of rods are use specific, which is why a lot of people have a ton of rods. Just learn to use what you like and what to use in each application. Like I have a rod that Lyle sent me that I think is going to make a great perch rod. I've been looking at trips. I'm thinking about going up to Green Bay, Lyle. I've been checking the reports on Mendota to see when the perch bite starts over there. I'm looking forward to going over there, and I'm definitely going to take that rod with me. So that being said, JNS Outdoor says it likes a 7-foot light action is what I enjoy for panfish. Mark Barnum says I have a 6'5" old Shakespeare that I use for catching bluegills. For bait, and I will be heartbroken if that rod ever breaks. That's the thing. A lot of these rods that you find that fit your fishing style perfectly become heirlooms, Lyle. Am I not mistaken, or what?
No, that's exactly right. And it's not just rods; it's reels too.
Yeah.
I was sending Matt at Want to Be Outdoors a message the other day. Here, some time ago, he wanted a fly rod, and we done some swapping around on a couple of reels and some different things. And he got the fly rod, and I got some stuff that I wanted. He sent me a Monarch reel, little like a 500 series spinning reel, and I started using that thing. And for me, and the way I fish, and the speed I want my jigs to come back to me at this present time of the year, I can't find anything that I like better. That thing will retrieve so slow. And what I'm trying to do is keep it right off of the brush on the bottom, keep it out of that so I don't lose so many jigs and stuff. This thing is absolutely perfect for that. And I don't know if the new ones are the same or if you can find one. I've got abus, I've got pins, I've got every conceivable thing. And the only thing I find reasonably close to it is the loose speed spool, and I really, really like. They are very smooth. They're smoother than abus. They're smoother than that fluger. They're extremely smooth. How long they're going to last, I don't know, but it's still just a touch fast. And a month from now, when it gets colder, maybe they're going to want it slower. Maybe they're going to want it faster. That is yet to be determined. But right now, that thing is the butt. I ain't kidding you. It really works good, and it's just for the way I'm fishing right now. It's just perfect for me. Now everybody's hand speed will run different and all that, but it's really cool, and it doesn't weigh nothing. And I like that a lot.
I got an heirloom reel right here, Lyle. You know what this is?
I can't really feel it. It's an Abu Garcia some kind.
It's the 100th anniversary Abu that I got here.
Oh yeah, I like that.
That's waiting on a rod from my buddy to make me so I can put it up on my wall. See, Lyle, wouldn't that look good on a custom built Lyle Stokes rod hanging behind me up on the wall?
Is that what you're gonna do? Just hang it on the wall?
I'm not going to use it. I'm going to hang it on the wall, and that's where it's going to stay.
Okay.
I got that for a heck of a deal. Look at this. It even came with a nice, look at this, just like a Crown Royal bag, but for a reel.
There's nothing wrong with having Crown Royal bag.
That's right. Crappie Kid says 7-foot ultralight micro series from Shakespeare. That's my go-to. As catfish don't hit, as long as catfish don't hit the jig, I know what that is.
I seen a post while ago where somebody in here posted they had a new ugly stick carbon, and I've been reading about those. I do not have one of those yet, but if you posted that, and it got away from me before I thought about it. If whoever posted that, tell us again how you like that, because carbon rods, I will not build a catfish rod on a carbon blank. They just, the quality, I don't care who makes the blank, the quality is just not there where I feel comfortable about putting my name on it. The lighter action stuff are bass, green carp, panfishing stuff. They're okay, but they don't require something that's going to take off in 10-mile-an-hour current and try to spool you. So until I'm comfortable with it, I won't build on one. But I would like to know how whoever paid that post while ago likes the carbon, because I think that's going to be one of the feature components in the industry.
Bugman says he likes his 4.5-foot Mickey or Goofy. Can't be beat.
Yeah,
hey,
whatever.
What's going on, Jeff Beal? How you doing?
Hey,
Cindy
Jeff.
says my rods all have cobwebs on them. I'm sorry to hear that, Cindy. Right here, Lance says I like my 6-foot ultralight St. Croix. See, he's another northern like us. Look at this. Freddie says, "Ouch!" I think that's you breaking the rod tip.
Yeah, I built on a lot of St. Croix rods over the years. The problem is, I can buy that quality or better for a whole lot less than what St. Croix will sell to me.
Well, when you're selling a finished product, you're building it to make a
But
profit.
they'll sell blanks to you. They'll sell blanks to me. But I can buy a lot of good stuff for a whole lot less.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and Betty's informed me of this, if you break a St. Croix rod, they'll warranty it. They might make you pay a few dollars. If you got $150, $200 rod from them and you break it and they only want $50 to replace it, it's worth it. If you like the rod that much. So there you go.
You got to pay shipping.
Yeah, I believe so. Creel says, I've got a 6-foot St. Croix ultralight that was given to me. Really fun on those big hybrid brims in the pond. Now you're talking.
Them big hybrids get big. They're like red ears. They get really big.
The Crappie Kid says, I would give Lyle a kidney if he would build me a crappie rod. No lie. You know what? He's at that age. He might need a kidney. Maybe you guys can work something out.
Yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's see what else. So now that being said, back to the rod real quick before we get off the rod talk. I had to fish really small micro baits to get the crappie. I caught a bunch. I went out, what was it, yesterday? I caught 12 crappie, 12 bluegill. I kept like 6 of the crappie for bait. Kept probably 6 of the bluegill for bait, but I think I got like 12 and 12. Caught a couple of bass, one of them about a pound. That was the biggest one. But they were all biting on like micro-sized baits for some reason. Now that being said,
half inch or to an inch size,
like an 1 inch with really slim profile stuff is what I was having to use, and I was using them on little number 8 hooks. So, it's hard to get a hookup, especially on a fish like a crappie that's got, that has a mouth that opens up really wide when they go to inhale that bait. If you don't get a hook set on them, they're going to inhale it and exhale it before you even know you had them. One of the things I like to do is bend the hook out a little bit. That helps increase your hookup ratio, but also what helps your hookup ratio is not having a bow in your line if you're fishing in the wind.
That's right.
Two, fish on a tight line under a float if you're fishing under a float, and having that stiffer rod like one of those ACC Crappie Stix, so you can get a good hookup on them. There's less play in the line and the rod tip. And maybe even Braid would have helped me in those scenarios. I didn't have that with me, so I made do, and I still got some fish, but I could have improved on the bite by using those items. So
I've been having pretty good success rate hookup ratio with the smaller hooks. Now, I think I mentioned this on a show a week or two ago. I was dead sticking just over the side of the rail on this dock with one of them little Miss Bacon creature baits. This thing's about a half-inch long, about 3/8 of an inch wide, and I just dropped it in the water down to the bottom and reeled it up 3 or 4 cranks. Boom, bluegill. Put it
there
back
you
down.
go.
Boom, bluegill again. And it's not doing anything but just sitting there. But it was a windy day, and the water's kind of moving around, and the dock was kind of moving around. Some days the smaller stuff really, really works good. My success on crappie right now is about 1.5 inch. Baits that I've been using, they've been working really well for me. And pink and orange is the 2 colors I've been catching most of the stuff. And
See,
hand ties and plastic.
Yeah, the spot I tried, I tried using some of my favorite plastic colors in a 2-inch size. I was using Kentucky bluegrass. They wouldn't have anything to do with it. I tried using an electric chicken. They wanted nothing to do with it. As soon as I flipped over to that gosh darn monkey milk, it was game on. Also, what I learned was maybe they were inhaling those baits and spitting them out, and I wasn't even knowing. But as soon as I started moving those baits, returning them back to me, so slow, it's almost painful. I've said that many times, but that's how slow I was returning them. I was getting fish. Whether or not that's what they wanted, which I'm pretty sure that is what they wanted, or the fact that I was fishing with a 1/64 ounce jig head, and then I downsized to the Berkley Gulp 1-inch minnows. Whether or not it was just from returning that bait to me that the hook was made sure to be pointed up and pointing towards the fish, you know what I mean? Whether that upped it, I don't know. Whatever it was, that definitely made a difference, and that's when I started catching, or at least getting hits every cast. I'm not even joking. It was a lot of fun. I was only out for an hour when I got all them fish, but I have some knee problems, and I was standing on a pretty steep hill, and that was kind of rough on me. But we managed to get some fish in the bait shack and brought them home, and I might go fishing tomorrow morning with them. We'll see. We'll talk about that later. Let's see what Mark Barnum says. He says, Lyle, I was watching Fishful Thinking last week, and him and a guy were fishing with custom spinning rods built on fly rod blanks. Would be interested to feel the action.
They're way whippy. I've done that a time or two, different kinds of blanks, and I haven't found a fly rod blank yet that I would use to catch panfish. I love fly rod fishing. It's a lot of fun, but they're a little bit too whippy. When you go to cast them, you get a lot of wind knots and stuff in them. I haven't found a blank yet that it works for me.
Lyle, I want you to read this one from Butterflies and Sunshine.
I'm looking at Lyle, and he grew his beard full with those rosy cheeks. Would make a fantastic Santa Claus. Josh, your son thinks I am Santa Claus.
Crappie Kid says, yeah, I have a 7-foot ugly stick, crappie carbon badass rod I've ever got. Nice. I'm glad you like it.
I'd like to. I have to go somewhere and feel it. If it doesn't feel right to me, I don't have any confidence in me liking it to purchase. And the carbon rods are a little more expensive, so I wouldn't just order one of them over unless I knew what I was getting into.
I want to check out the prices of them. You got two Okumas to replace, so you might want to try one. You never know.
I won't replace them with that brand. I'll tell you that.
That being said, and we had this talk earlier today. Okuma's great for line counter reels, big water reels, big rods. They're like a staple here on the Great Lakes for trolling.
And a lot of their bigger rods are great, but
yep,
I had pretty bad luck.
I just don't think they put as much effort into some of their lighter tackle gear. So that being said, they are value rods. Oh, another brand that I really like, Lyle, is Fenwick. I've never had a Fenwick rod I didn't like.
No kidding. Fenwick, yeah, Fenwick is probably one of the in my opinion, it's the premier rod company in the world. I love G. Loomis. I know Gary. I could talk to him. If I could call him up right now and talk to him. He makes some great rods, and he started a lot of rod companies that are in business now and not use and still using his name. There's a lot of high dollar, real good stuff out there, but they're the best. I mean, Fenwick is just, my God, they're awesome.
You know, there's a company here local. I think, and we've talked about them. They're one of the few companies that make their rods from blanks to finished product here in the United States, and that's Grant Rods. But you're going to pay for them. You're looking at $400 rods. I don't think I want to spend that kind of money on a rod. But if you're into it, I know.
From them, but again, I can't. If I bought a blank from them and built the rod, I'd have to sell for $800-900.
The stuff's great stuff. My friend Violet Talley, who does a lot of tournament fishing, she she's one of their pro staffers, and the stuff that that guy makes, as far as just being quality stuff, to the snake skin wraps he put on those look really badass.
I've done that. They do look good.
They look good. It's some pretty fancy stuff. If you ever get a chance and you see him at a fishing convention, a lot of, winter's coming, convention season's going to come. If you see the Grant Rod booth, stop over there and drool a little bit. At least you'll get that. I'm not recommending you spend that much on a panfish rod, but they are pretty nice. Let's see what Bugman has.
You spend that on a catfish rod?
No, not really, not anymore.
Well, I
got my Lyle Stokes rod. It's probably the highest priced catfish rod in my rod locker, but I've been using those hog seekers from Whisker Seekers that cost, without my discount code of MCC15, cost you $59, close to $50 with my code. Those rods are perfect. They work great for me. That's what I need. That's what I'm using. But anyways,
there you go.
You don't need a lot of sensitivity in a rod if you're not bumping, if you're not dragging baits, if you're putting them in a rod holder, whether it's on a bank or in your boat, you just need that rod to have enough or have enough play in it to bend to set those circle hooks. And that's all I'm going to say. So, anyways.
Well, it's very true. The difference for me is if I'm catfishing and I'm using a circle hook and I'm pulling boards, or if I'm dead sticking out the side or whatever, I want just the right action on the tip of that rod to where when they take it for just a little ways, and then the rod tightens up and it gets them in the mouth and their head.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Go with the Mickey bug.
For those of you listening to the podcast, Lyle, in your opinion, which is better, the Mickey or Pluto 4'6" 2-piece rod? First time caller. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Oh man. Sage makes some really good fly rods and stuff. I'll tell you something that if I can find one that I can play with, like I said, Temple Fork Outfitters. They make great fly rods, and they've got into the panfish industry and are making other rods now. And I'm excited to get to hold one of those and see how I like it. One of the big problems, Mark, that I have with panfish rods is all the production companies make the rear grip too damn short. They just make them too short for my needs. I want them longer than that. And it doesn't matter on the front grip to me, because a lot of times you're holding it with the reel in your hand, and the spinning reel will be between these two fingers for me, and I got all the sensitivity and all the power I need to catch bluegill and crappie. I mean, it's just the way it is. Don't need the foregrip to be anything more than a decoration, but the rear grip, I want it at least 10 inches long, and sometimes longer depending on how long the rod is. And these guys, they're making them, 6-8 inches long, and they're saving money that way. That's how come they sell them.
Well, I'm by no means am I a fly fishing expert or even, I'm just a beginner. I've had my fly rod out twice, had a lot of fun with it. But from what I understand, the reason why they have such short rod butts on them is because they're just trying to balance those rods, right, Ryle? They want that reel to be the fulcrum point. Yeah, they want the reel to be the fulcrum point and make it comfortable to cast all day with them, which is understandable. Let's see what Jeff.
That don't work for me. But everybody's different.
Yeah, 100%. Jeff Bill says, I heard there's a crappie pond 15 minutes from me. I'm going to wet a line soon. Now, that being said, reason why I wanted to highlight that one, I caught those crappie out of a suburban pond, Lyle, right?
Right.
And somebody said, and you told me they were bait. That's exactly what I'm going to use them for. And then someone told me that it's a shame to see that good dinner go to waste. These suburban ponds, you got a bunch of houses around there. Take a look at the lawns. If those lawns are manicured and they look real green when they shouldn't look green, there's a lot of runoff of fertilizers and pesticides and stuff like that. Don't eat them fish, as far as I'm concerned. If you have one meal out of them, it ain't gonna kill you, probably. I'm disappointing myself. You don't know that, but yeah, that's not where I'd keep my crappie. I don't keep crappie unless they're from a large body of water. So it's all diluted that way. Even if that large body of water has houses all around it, if it's a 2,000 acre lake, that's a lot of water to dilute all that stuff, and most of it sinks to the bottom anyways. A lot of those fertilizers are like heavy metals, they sink to the bottom. But there's Matt from Want to Be Outdoors. What's going on, Matt? Quiet Man Curtis, how you doing, bud? I think I said hello to him, but I want to make sure I don't miss him because he complains a lot. Benoit Fishing says, Buggy, only if you want the mouse ears. Yeah, there you go, Buggy. Buggy, the rule is if you're using one of them rods, you got to wear Mickey Mouse ears.
And we need video for assurance.
We need videos or pictures. Crappie Kid says, the best rod Shakespeare ugly stick made is all graphic, named the Crappie Hunter, is one of their best rods, but they don't make them anymore. Or branded it ugly stick.
This Elite would be a great rod if it just was all graphite instead of having that tip. The other thing is, Mark, and I should have brought it in here to show you, it costs you quite a bit more for the Elite series, and it does have an upgraded cork. It's still not high quality. It's very cheap cork, but it's better than what the regular stuff is. And it has rubberized cork rings and made into the grips. Looks very nice. But the finish, you put finish over top of the guides, and if you don't get enough finish on there that the threads actually show through, you ain't put enough finish on. Put another coat on it. And they don't do that. There's one coat's all you get. If they don't cover it, they're shipping it regardless. But that's why they can sell for that. The big thing about production rods, and I don't give a damn who makes them or who's selling them, they're 100% every guide is put on the same on every one of them. And rod blanks are made individually. They're just like people. Every one is different from the last and different from the next one. And you got to spine that rod blank because they're never the same. Fix it to where the curvature of the bend is where it needs to be, and space out your guides on there. And we all have a starting spot. And then you tape the guides down, put a reel on it, and you bend it. If it's a casting rod, you don't want the line to ever touch the rod blank. And if it's a spinning rod, you're looking for the perfect arc to make it work right. They just put them all on the same, and there's no way that you can build 10 million of them son of a bitches and they all be right. There's no way. It don't work that way. That's the biggest problem I have with production rods. I have actually got some that I have cut the guides off of them and replaced them or added one or taken one away, and the rod works a whole lot better. But they're in the business to get them in, get them out, make money. Where a guy that builds them is not. you putting your name on that thing, it's got to be.
I've been talking to Lyle when he was working on rods or something, and have him cuss up a storm because he did something that he has to redo. Now that he does that often, but he won't let that stuff out the door unless it's
No, it ain't leaving me. I had one guy that I was met at CatCon.
Well, let me finish here real quick.
Okay.
And if you've been listening to the show, he doesn't like crappy stuff, so you can trust pretty much what he does. So
that's true. I had a guy that I was supposed to take a rod to at a catfish conference. Oh, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And it didn't suit me. The decal you put the decals on, and they're like, the ones I use are like model car decals for anybody that's ever built a model car. Water slides. And they're really thin. They look good. But I put the finish on, and the edges would lift up. Well, normally I can just take a razor blade, trim that off, put another coat of finish on it, and I'm good to go. This one didn't matter. You put another coat of finish on it, it'll lift up some more. I went through this with this particular rod 4 or 5 times, and I finally said, piss on it, and I built him another one. I get the CatCon, he's asking me, I said, dude, I could have brought them to you, but they don't suit me, and I'm not giving them to you until they do. I said, I'll just pay for the shipping and ship it to you when it's done, because I'm not sending it out like that. And he understood. But I said, it's got to be, if it's something that I'm not comfortable putting my name on, it ain't leaving till I'm happy. So.
You get what you pay for, folks. Jeff Beal says, I have a few different setups from 4-foot to 10-foot bait rods. Depending on the embankment, will determine the one I choose.
There you go.
You know, it 100%. I mean, if you're fishing tight quarters, a 7.5 foot rod isn't going to work. If you got a 5.5 foot rod or 2-piece, something like that, or even, you know, one of Bugman's Snoopy rods, whatever it takes to catch those fish if you're looking for bait. 100%.
That's exactly right.
100%.
I see Danny Stone finally woke up and joined us.
Danny Stone, what's up, Danny? How you doing, bud? Hopefully you're feeling better.
I hope so. And medicine, Danny, you don't have to worry about it. I'm telling you right now, anything, if it says non-drowsy on it, I can take 2 of them and go right to sleep. I promise.
Matt says, Mr. Lyle, that was one of my favorite reels, but giving it to you was worth knowing who it was going to and for what. There you go.
It has fast become one of my favorites, I'll tell you that.
Oh, look at this. The Crappie Kid said, Lyle, it was me who posted it. Crappie carbon rods are very sensitive, and I love them. They're very durable. Now, carbon fiber rods, you got to remember, they might feel real strong, real light, and real sensitive, but if you nick that rod in the wrong way, it's going to shatter. Just keep that in mind and take care of that. Take care of that rod.
I agree. I tell you, a lot of these rod companies now, not necessarily panfish rods, but a lot of the catfish rods and the custom or some of the online services they ship them to you with a sock, or you can get a rod if you have them, or they send them to you. Put them in it. It's that simple. It'll save you grief in the long run. Not only that, it keeps them looking a whole lot better. You don't have to work nearly as hard to clean them up.
Yep. You're not getting line tangles, whether they're in the corner or they're in rod locker in your boat. Those rod socks are pretty good. LV is a company that makes some pretty good stuff. I understand their rod socks are really good and they're worth the money, and they also float. So there you go. If you're a person
that being able to float worth a lot.
Yep, 100% it does. So what's going on, Nubby? How you doing? Bugman says, I have 2 of the 100th anniversary Abus. Some site had them on sale for 157. I got mine for $79, Buggy. How about that?
Mm-hmm. That is what to do.
Should have bought more than that.
Mm-hmm. Should have bought 4 or 5 of them.
Josh says, butterflies. My son John sees Santa decor and says, hey, it's Lyle.
Oh, yeah.
It's only August and already starting in on the Santa stuff.
I know, man.
Mm-hmm. Nubby says, I have a Lowe's speed stick with an A200 reel. I love that thing. Awesome.
The 750 series speed spool reels that I've got, so far, I really like them. They are extremely smooth, cast really well, but doesn't have the speed down like the one that I got from Matt.
Greg Burgess from the great state of Louisiana says, Lyle, I just checked the temperature here. It's 86 with a 101 index. It's feeling good.
I'll bet it does, yeah.
Keep that down there, Greg. Keep that down there, buddy.
Mm.
Want to be outdoors, Matt says Fluger has an ultralight that is very whippy, like a fly rod. Way too much whip.
Yeah, I don't like it. Cast on long ways. You cast them jigs a long ways, even lightweight jigs, but you just lose so much sensitivity on them.
If you're fishing under a bobber, you don't need sensitivity. It don't matter. You know, the only thing you'd need sensitivity when you're doing that is if you're fishing with a big bow in your line because of the wind, you need to be able to take that line up really quick to set the hook on picky fish. But other than that, if you're fishing under a float directly in front of you with no problems, you can use a broomstick for all that matters. So
yeah, that's exactly right. Brian B has woke up and joined us. How about that?
Mark Barnum says my Sage RPL 490-4 fly rod. That's a mouthful. I bought it in the 1990s, was $350. Insane the price they get for higher end fly rods these days. You ain't kidding.
That fly rod now would probably be $1,500.
Hey, look at that, Mark. Greg Burgess says, Mark, I watched that video of you fishing that that pond and he enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Complains, is that a way of saying whines? Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
What's up, JG? How you doing, my friend? Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's read Danny's comment here. It says, sorry, missed the show. I've been taking long naps after work every day. New meds they got me on. Just drain the energy right out of me. Danny Stone did have a little spill, if I'm not mistaken. I talked to him a little bit, said he's too old and stubborn to stop fishing, but that doesn't mean he needs to get a little bit of rest in between fishing trips. So you take care of your Danny. We'll make sure we're all praying for you and you heal up 100%. That's for sure.
Yep. Because the weekend's coming up.
Yeah, sure. Danny fishes live every Sunday at 3 p.m. on his channel, Danny Stone Outdoors. Yep. Check him out. Pugman says Snoopy can't hold a candle to Mickey. I'm starting to think Buggy might be having a little bit of cocktails tonight. Not that that's wrong. Brian B says
worked awesome.
The Spidey Man rod works awesome. There you go.
Oh man.
Ashley Brady's in the house. What's up, Ashley? How you doing, dear? Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you having you here. Haven't seen Ashley in a while. It's always good to see Ashley around. Let's see if we got any more questions. Right here, Bugman says, asking for a friend, are switchblades against the law? Actually, it's state specific. They're called automatic knives. Look them up and you'll get your answer that way. AI will give you an answer right away. Danny says, people make fun of those dock demons, dock demons and or dock runners, but they stash easily in a truck, and I've caught some decent cats on them. Yeah, they're built for kids not to break, which includes you, Danny. So there you go.
Well, remember last time I was up at Madison in May, we was up there and I was using bobbers and catching the big channel cats. Caught 23-pounder with Chad and D sitting right beside us on an ice rod.
What? I posted a post today, a memory from like 5 years ago. I caught a 30-pound flathead on one of them Whisker Stix 38-inch rods. That was a fun battle. And it's funny. Here, let me tell you that story. I was parked out in front of a bar at lunchtime, full of people out on the patio. They watched me reel in and catch that fish, and I got a round of applause. That was the biggest ego boost of my life. Made me feel pretty darn good. I didn't feel the sunburn until I got home because I left my hat in the truck.
Yeah, so, that's the. Hey, I got to tell you, Mark, the other morning I was out fishing real early at this conservation lake, and a bald eagle flew down, swooped down to the water, and just touched it and come back up. He missed his fish and went over and landed in a tree on the other side of the lake. Pretty cool. Wished I'd had a video camera going that.
That being, Lyle, that being said, follow the birds, folks. I do that all the time. The one pond that I found those crappie at finally, I don't fish for crappie in the ponds too much, had a cormorant, and it was eating bait. And I'm like, why is that cormorant in that spot? Walked down a couple 100 feet and started fishing where the bird was. And boom, right there. First cast out there, I got a crappie. I'm like, there's crappie in this pond? Game on. So follow the bird, folks.
There's two things about comrades. If you have a pond of your very own, you're a lucky person. If you get comrades in it and sandhill cranes, they will eat all of your frogs and a high percentage of your fish.
We have a lot of sandhills around here, Lyle. In the past 8 years, they've started coming around, and I think they're pretty cool birds. On larger bodies of water, I don't think they're that big of a menace. But yeah, I can imagine if you got them in a pond, it's not a good thing.
Yep, it's not.
Danny Stone says 2 of my prized reels are a pair of Abu Garcia 6,000 reels that Joe Ziegler sent me before he passed away. See, you got to keep a hold of that stuff.
You bet.
Look at this. Weekend Angler says these 2 are 30 minutes behind in chat. There's nothing wrong with that. We're having fun and we're trying to get.
What's your point?
Yeah, we're trying to give everybody their attention. Jesus. Listen, JG. I think I'm actually younger than you, JG. He says, Danny, maybe Mark and Lyle should rename the show the After Nap. Oh, he's talking about Danny taking a nap.
Yeah, Danny taking a nap.
Forgive me. Greg Burgess says, Mark, I am having to fish the bank, so I bought 2 12-foot Shakespeare rods with 6,000 King Cat spinning reels for bank fishing. You got less than $100 each combo. I really like the setup. Fantastic.
Cheap enough, Greg.
Mark says if I had a dime for every trout I caught on that rod, I would have Mark. No, you mean Chad money, not Mark money. Mark. I ain't got no money. I got boat payments. There ain't no money left.
Yeah, but you got a nice boat.
Hold on a second. Sandy Toes, what's going on, Sandy? Have a good evening, dear. Mark Barnum says, my pocket fisherman will beat any Snoopy pole. Hold on a second. I got a pocket.
You got one of those?
I got one of them over here on my shelf somewhere. I don't see it or else I'd wing
when
over
my
there.
mom passed away, there was one of them on her refrigerator. How it got there or why it was there, I have no idea because she didn't go fishing anymore. And I don't know what happened to it since then. I haven't seen it in a while, but pocket fisherman. Yeah.
I was going to make a video with that thing. Those things were cool. I had one of them when I was a kid, and I saw that somebody was selling them on YouTube, not on YouTube, on Amazon. I picked one up and haven't gotten around to use it, but I've been busy trying to catch fish to be horsing around with stuff. Anyway,
we've been talking about rods and reels and everything. Have you ever used one of the telescoping rods?
You mean like the telescopic cane pole rods?
Well, they make them in e-glass, fiberglass, graphite. They make them out of all kinds of stuff now. I have not ever tried one. I have never had a desire to, but I've been getting some inquiries about it. Man, I don't really want to build on those type of blanks, personally. But if you want something to tuck away in a spot in your car real quick and real easy, that would for sure be one.
That being said, I have a walleye trolling rod. What's the brand? It might be an Okuma. I don't know. I'd have to take a look. I don't think it is. It's a Fenwick, I think. It's a 9.5 foot rod that's meant for trolling for walleye, right, Lyle? And the top half of it collapses, so you can fit it into rod lockers. That rod's pretty nice, actually. So I'm pretty happy with that rod. So that's the one I have.
With me, when I build a 2-piece rod, I wrap thread around the joint so it cannot break there. That's just how I do it. That works really well, but you couldn't do that on one of those. But the inside, the one piece will sit inside, and the next piece will fit inside that. So they're putting together from the tip back, and they'll only come out so far. So I don't know if anybody that has one of those or anything. I kind of like to play around with one if I like it.
Yeah, the good thing about that telescopic rod, especially in rod lockers, I like to have all my stuff pre-rigged before I go out. That's all. That's the only reason to have multiple rods in your boat for any single species,
That's right?
So let's say if I want to pull flicker minnows or flicker shad behind there, I can get the fluorocarbon leader, because I always use a leader when I'm fishing with walleye. Their eyes are super sensitive; they can see line from a mile away. I'll hook it up, let's say with a flicker shad, hook it up to the hook keeper, and then collapse the top of the rod as I'm reeling in the reel, and that rod's ready to go. All I do is pull it out, hit the button on the reel, pull the rod out to the full length, and I'm ready to troll. So those rods work great for that. I just don't have enough money to have a full set of 3 of them in the boat
Chad as of yet. Probably loan you some money.
The first bank of Chad.
First bank of Chad. First bank of D.
All right, last comment.
Go ahead.
Let's give Greg the last comment of the night, Lyle. What do you say?
Okay, let's do.
Says Danny, I have 2 of the Abu Garcia reels on 8-foot ugly sticks now, and I am down to 1 thanks to my grandson. It's swimming in the bay somewhere. That'll happen, folks. I mean, there's a reason to have a big old snag and treble hook in your boat or in your tackle box, so you can try to return that stuff. I've gotten a couple of rods back that way for people, so that works really well.
I've got some in the water that I didn't get back too.
There you go. All right, Lyle, we didn't do too much talking about dog days of fishing. Freddie got us all wound up talking about gear, because we're gearheads, but that's all right. That's what we do. We kind of wander. We talked about everything from what we didn't talk about, Lyle, is food. Maybe we should talk about food for a second. Lyle sent me a picture of some crappie he made yesterday that really got me kind of going. I'm ready to have me a fish fry. So next channel,
I got some more. I might fry up some more of them. It was pretty tasty.
Next channel cat or panfish I catch from a larger body of water, man, their days are numbered. I'm going to have to fry some of them up. Maybe I'll make a short video of that too. So I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun making that cooking show that we did. And I think we need to have another one of them over the winter. So I got to make sure the fridge is stocked up. Maybe you can do the cooking this time.
I'm not nearly as good at it as you are. And you're explaining is what sets you apart. You were very good about it.
Well, we will talk about that again.
Hey, I'm just going to throw some crap in a bowl, dump it, dredge some fish to it, put them in the grease, man.
Here we go. Here's some food talk from Chrissy. First she said bacon, and then she said, I know I was going to give Greg the last note, but I can't resist to say
good.
I made creamy potato, cabbage, and jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage soup. There you go. There, it's good stuff.
That does sound good.
And thank you, Joe Buck. Joe Buck, how you doing? I didn't see you in the list, but I know you're always watching. Absolutely. Thanks for being a member supporter. And if you want to support Lyle's channel here at Panfish Nation, there's a link to join the membership. We'd appreciate it if you did. Also, if you'd hit that thumbs up on your way out, if you haven't already, we'd be very grateful.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We've had a great time. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. But we'll be back next Wednesday night either way.
We might talk about dog days of summer fishing then. So don't be surprised if we reuse the show idea. All right, bud. Everybody, good night. Get out there and go fishing.
See you, everybody.
Baby.
You better delete that now.
Sending.